He stared at the empty hallway every night. Not sometimes. Not on the days when the house felt colder, or when the wind outside had that strange metallic sound it sometimes carried. No. Every single night, like clockwork, as if something out there, something I couldn't see, was waiting for him. And I know how strange this sounds. If someone had told me the same story a year ago, I would have smiled politely and brushed it aside. But everything changed because of what happened in that hallway, and what my cat did the night he finally pounced. My name is Emily, and before all of this, I lived a quiet and honestly uneventful life. I worked from home as a freelance illustrator. I had my routines, I had my peaceful evenings, and I had Milo, my soft, silver-striped cat with big, intelligent eyes that always seemed to be analyzing the world. Milo wasn't the clingy type. He loved me in his own way. He followed me from room to room, pretended he didn't care about attention, and then curled on my lap when he thought I wasn't looking. We understood each other. He was the one constant in my life after a difficult breakup and months of adjusting to living alone. The hallway was narrow, connecting the living room to the bedrooms. Nothing special about it. Plain cream-colored walls, a long runner rug, a single overhead light that flickered occasionally because the wiring in the apartment building was old. I never felt anything strange about it, not until Milo's behavior changed. It started one night in early autumn. I had been sketching late, my tablet resting on my knees as Milo slept curled tightly at my side. Around midnight, he suddenly stirred. His head lifted sharply, his ears perked forward like he'd heard something subtle but unmistakable. His tail twitched once, twice. Then he jumped off the couch, landing with that silent, focused grace cats have when they're not just curious, when they're alert. He padded across the living room toward the hallway, stopped right at the threshold and sat down. He didn't walk into the hallway. He didn't sniff the air or examine the shadows. He just sat perfectly still and stared straight ahead into the darkness. I remember calling his name softly. Milo? He didn't react. Not a blink, not a twitch. It was like he was frozen, locked onto something I couldn't see. At the time, I assumed it was a bug. Or maybe he had heard a sound from the apartment next door. Cats do that. They pick up on things we never notice. I wasn't worried, not then. But the next night, the same thing happened. And the next, and the next. By the end of the first week, I found myself glancing at the clock around midnight, as if anticipating what Milo would do. And he never failed. Right at that hour, he woke from sleep, walked slowly to the hallway, sat down, and stared. 30 minutes, sometimes more. Never blinking, never moving. It became unsettling. Not because cats acting weird is shocking. Anyone with pets knows unusual behavior happens. But this had pattern, intention. It felt like he was waiting for something. And deep down, I started feeling like whatever he was watching, it was waiting too. At first, I tried to interrupt him, telling myself I was being silly. I would pick him up gently, bring him back to the couch, close the bedroom door so he couldn't access the hallway. But every night, he found a way. Once, he scratched the door frame until I opened it. Another time, when I tried to distract him with treats, he didn't even glance at them. That alone scared me. Milo never ignored treats. A strange atmosphere started settling into the apartment. I didn't know how to explain it, even to myself. The air felt heavier. The nights felt longer. I kept hearing faint creaks from the hallway, the kind that old houses make but at the wrong moments, the wrong rhythm. And the light at the end of the hallway, the flickering one. It began to dim unpredictably, as if reacting to something. Still, I tried to stay rational. I told myself it was all in my head. that I was projecting anxiety onto harmless coincidences. But that didn't last long, because one night, something happened that shook me to my core. I had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from working all day. Milo was sleeping in his usual spot near my legs. When I woke up, it was exactly midnight, 12 on the dot. I didn't need to look at the clock. I knew the time because Milo suddenly sprang awake, scrambled to the floor, and darted toward the hallway with a determination I had never seen from him. This time he didn't sit. He stood. His entire body went rigid. His fur stood on end, his tail puffed up, and a low, rumbling growl started in his chest, a sound I had never, ever heard him make. "Milo?" My voice came out weak. He didn't turn. He didn't blink. He didn't even breathe like normal. He was staring into something, a darkness that looked no different from usual but felt wrong. Every hair on my arms lifted. I felt something cold slide down my spine. A prickling pressure filled the hallway, like the air was vibrating, like something invisible was exhaling. Then, Milo hissed, loud, violent. The sound echoed off the walls. I stumbled to my feet, heart pounding, and took a step toward him. "Milo, what is it? What's wrong?" He finally looked at me then, but not in a way that reassured me. His pupils were huge, swallowing the green in his eyes. His ears were flat. His body trembled. It was fear, real fear. My brave, confident cat was terrified. And then came the sound, a soft, slow creak, coming from deep inside the hallway. I froze. I had lived there for over a year. I knew every sound the place made. This wasn't one of them. It wasn't pipes. It wasn't wood. It wasn't settling. It sounded deliberate, like a footstep. One single step, then silence. I felt my throat tighten, and without realizing it, I whispered, "Hello?" No answer. Only the quiet hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen and Milo's tense breathing. I forced myself to walk forward. One slow step, then another. The floor under my feet suddenly felt colder. Milo followed beside me, keeping low, growling at the shadows. I reached the light switch and flipped it on. The bulb flickered violently before stabilizing into a weak, sickly glow. Nothing was there. No movement. No intruder. No explanation. I searched the entire apartment. The bedroom, the bathroom, the closets. Everything was empty, unchanged. But that didn't comfort me. Because when I returned to the hallway, Milo was still staring at the far end, his growl unbroken, his body shaking harder than before. Something was wrong. Very wrong. After that night, things started escalating. Milo stopped eating as much as before. He wandered through the house with cautious steps. He avoided my bedroom entirely, choosing instead to sleep curled against the couch as if protecting me. And every night at midnight, he returned to the hallway like he was obligated to be there. I stopped sleeping well. I began leaving lights on. I even placed small bells on the doorknobs, thinking maybe I'd catch whatever was making the sounds. I never did. But sometimes, when I woke up around midnight, the bells were swaying lightly, as if something had brushed past them, and the hallway started feeling colder. Not just cool. Cold, like a draft from an open window, except every window was closed. Then came the night when my fear stopped being subtle. I had just gotten out of the shower. The apartment was silent, except for the faint buzzing of the bathroom fan. When I stepped into the living room, towel in hand, I saw Milo already sitting at the edge of the hallway. It wasn't midnight yet. It was barely 10 p.m. Something was off schedule. "Milo?" I said, my chest tightening. He didn't respond. His gaze was locked on something unseen, something down the hallway that made his muscles tense and his back arch. And then, without warning, the hallway light flickered, sputtered, and went out completely. Darkness swallowed the corridor. I gasped, instinctively stepping backward. My breath fogged for a second. actually fogged, like the temperature had dropped drastically, in a sealed apartment with no windows open. Milo hissed, short, sharp, furious. Before I could even reach for my phone, a second sound echoed from the darkness. Not a creak this time, not something subtle. A tap, then another, then another. 3 slow, deliberate taps against the wall, spaced evenly apart, like knuckles. My entire body froze. I felt tears burning behind my eyes, the kind of instinctive fear you don't rationalize. You just feel. "Milo, come here," I whispered. He didn't. He took a step forward. I panicked and lunged to grab him, terrified he'd run into the darkness, but he slipped out of my hands and planted himself firmly in the center of the hallway entrance. Body crouched, ears flattened, staring into whatever was moving on the other side. I grabbed my phone with trembling fingers and turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the dark, illuminating the far wall, the rug, the framed pictures on the side. Nothing looked out of place, but the cold remained. A harsh, biting chill that made my fingers numb around the phone. Then I noticed something else. Something so subtle I almost missed it. The rug. It had moved. Just an inch or two, but unmistakably shifted out of alignment, as though something had dragged across it. My breath caught. I heard myself whisper, "No." Milo hissed again, the loudest yet, and took another aggressive step forward. That was the moment, deep in my bones, when I realized this wasn't just a strange pattern anymore. Something was inside my home, and Milo had been trying to warn me for weeks. After that night, I couldn't bring myself to stay in the apartment alone after dark. I started sleeping with lights on in every room. The hallway became something I avoided. I wouldn't walk through it unless absolutely necessary. And when I did, I walked fast, pretending not to feel the chill licking at my ankles. But Milo didn't avoid it. He watched it faithfully. Every night. Every single night. Then came the night everything changed. The night he pounced. And that's where everything truly began to unravel. And where I learned the truth about what had been happening in my home. The night Milo finally pounced didn't begin with a sound or a flicker, or even that now familiar drop in temperature. It began with a feeling. A weight in the air that wrapped around me like someone invisible was pressing their palms against my shoulders. I remember sitting on the couch, sketching absent-mindedly, trying to drown my nervous thoughts in work. But for the first time, Milo wasn't beside me. He was in the hallway, early again. Too early. When I glanced up, he wasn't just sitting this time. His body was tense, tail straight out, every muscle rigid. He looked like a statue carved out of fear and determination. His eyes didn't just stare. They tracked, followed something moving, something I couldn't see. My breath caught as I whispered, "Milo, what is it now?" He didn't respond. Then, the overhead hallway light crackled. Not flickered this time, but crackled, like electricity popping inside the walls. A split second later, it went dark, plunging the corridor into a strip of pitch-black shadow, and the cold came instantly. So sudden and sharp it felt like someone had opened a freezer door right beside me. Milo's growl was low and shaking, rumbling through his entire body. I stood slowly, my legs trembling so much I had to steady myself against the armrest. I reached for my phone, turning on the flashlight again. But this time, the beam didn't stretch far. It looked weaker, swallowed by the darkness halfway down the hall. It shouldn't have been that dark. It didn't make sense. But nothing had made sense for weeks now. I forced myself to take one step toward him, then another. Every foot of flooring felt unfamiliar, like I was walking toward something I shouldn't ever see. "Milo," I whispered, voice trembling. "Come here." He didn't come. His body dropped lower. He was preparing to leap. Then I heard it. Not a footstep. Not a tap. Not the creak from earlier nights. This time, it breathed. Soft, slow, cold. Right at the far end of the hallway. My heart collapsed into my stomach. A chill shot down my neck so sharply I almost cried out. I pointed the flashlight directly ahead, my hand shaking violently, expecting, hoping, to see nothing. But the light hit something. Something faint. Something wrong. The air shimmered, like heat rising off pavement, except inverted. Cold rippled outward instead of warmth, and in that distortion, for just a second, I saw a form. Not clear, not detailed, but tall. Too tall for a person standing naturally. A shape leaning out of the darkness. And Milo pounced. He launched himself forward with a violent cry, the kind cats make only when they feel truly threatened. His body was a flash of silver fur, claws out, teeth bared. I screamed his name, stumbling forward instinctively, terrified he was leaping into something dangerous. But before he reached the far end, something invisible pushed back. The air burst outward like a shockwave. The flashlight flickered wildly. My hair blew back from my face. And Milo collided with nothing. Nothing I could see. Yet he was thrown sideways, as if struck by a force. He hit the rug, skidded, and scrambled back onto his paws instantly. Another sound came out of the darkness. Not a breath this time. A whisper. Not words I could understand, but a sound shaped like intention, like something was aware of me. I froze. My throat snapped shut. Milo, now furious, planted himself between me and the hallway, his back arched, fur puffed into a spiky silhouette. He hissed again, louder than ever, as the cold thickened so intensely my phone screen dimmed from the temperature. Then, the hallway light turned on by itself. It didn't flicker. It didn't warm up gradually. It snapped on full brightness, almost blinding, and the shape was gone. The cold vanished. The distortion dissolved. The whisper stopped. The hallway was just a hallway again. But Milo remained planted, frozen in a defensive stance, eyes burning with anger toward a threat he knew hadn't left completely, only retreated. That was the moment I knew I couldn't stay there anymore. Whatever had been building night after night had reached a point where Milo wasn't just warning me. He was fighting something for me. I packed a bag that night, shaking uncontrollably as I threw clothes into it. I stepped into the hallway only once more, leaning down to pick up Milo, who allowed me to hold him even though he was still bristling with adrenaline. His little body felt warm against my chest, grounding me as I grabbed my keys and rushed out the front door. I drove straight to my sister's house across town. She opened the door confused, half asleep, but one look at my face, and she didn't ask a single unnecessary question. I told her everything, not the parts I couldn't describe, but enough. Enough for her to understand I was genuinely terrified. She didn't laugh. She didn't call me dramatic. Instead, she said quietly, "Emily, you should talk to the landlord. Something might be wrong with the building." The next morning, I did. And that conversation changed everything. The landlord listened carefully, but instead of looking confused or skeptical, he sighed. A long, heavy sigh that made my stomach twist. "You're not the first tenant who said something like this," he admitted. "Not about seeing anything, but feeling things, hearing things, cats reacting, dogs refusing to walk down the hallway. The wiring issue from last winter caused problems in that part of the building." "What kind of problems?" I asked, gripping Milo tighter in his carrier. He hesitated. Cold spots, lights going out, tenants waking up around the same time every night, saying they felt watched. He paused again before adding, "You're the first person who stayed long enough to describe it in this much detail." A knot formed in my chest. Was something ever done? Repaired? Inspected? We checked the wiring, he said. Everything looked fine, but the complaints continued. I didn't know how to respond. I felt a strange mix of validation and deepening fear. That same afternoon, I returned to the apartment with the landlord to collect my remaining belongings. Milo stayed in the carrier on the kitchen counter as we moved through each room. Everything looked normal, painfully normal, like the apartment was mocking me. But the moment we stepped into the hallway, the landlord stopped. "Do you feel that?" he asked quietly. I did. The cold. It was back. Not as strong as the night before, but undeniable. He frowned and touched the wall. "It shouldn't be cold here. This wall doesn't face outside." I swallowed hard. This is where it always started. Milo began growling again from inside the carrier. A deep, instinctive warning. That was all the confirmation I needed. I grabbed my essentials, signed the paperwork to end my lease early, and left the place behind. The landlord promised to look into it, but I could tell he didn't know where to even start, and I didn't care anymore. I wasn't going back. For days afterward, Milo stayed close to me, sleeping near my pillow, following me from room to room, always alert, always watching doorways as if expecting something to return. But nothing did. The cold spots were gone. The strange sounds stopped. Milo went back to eating normally, playing normally, relaxing normally. It felt like whatever had been in that hallway no longer had access to us, like Milo had driven it away, or cut some invisible connection when he pounced. I still don't fully understand what happened in that apartment. I don't know what Milo saw that I couldn't, but I do know this. He protected me. Every night, he positioned himself between me and something I wasn't equipped to sense. He stayed vigilant when I ignored the warning signs. He fought when I froze, and he never once hesitated. Even now, in our new home, Milo occasionally sits near the door at night, watching quietly, as if making sure no trace of that presence ever followed us. But he doesn't growl anymore. He doesn't arch his back. He doesn't puff his tail. He's calm, peaceful, confident, like he knows he won. And I'm grateful every single day, not just because he warned me, but because he stayed with me through fear that could have broken me. I owe him more than I can ever express. Thank you for staying with me through this story. It took a lot for me to share what happened, but knowing that others are listening makes everything feel a bit less heavy. If you felt connected to this experience, please consider subscribing to the channel and sharing this video with someone who loves animals as much as we do. Thank you again for watching until the end, and may you stay safe, warm, and protected wherever you are.